Yes, Siesta Ocho. That means it's time for city business. That means we just had another reconvening of City Hall. That means Michael Halley must be in the house, and as well as FMC. We do appreciate Jason strong-arming his way in. That's just a play on words. He's just a gentle giant of a heart and soul, and we appreciate the work that he does for the community. Speaking of which, Michael Halley joining us to catch us up to snuff on City Haps. You can tune in each Tuesday, the following lunch, 12:30, the following Thursday, 6:30 p.m. for dinner time, or the following Monday, 6:30 a.m. to hear what's going on here in KRUU-ville, or you can go to Fairfield Media Center. They get the report up in living Technicolor. It's just a vivid oral color here with radio. But speaking of inviting Michael to the airways, how you doing today, sir?
Good. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. And what do you got on the docket?
All right. Well, this is a review of our regular city council meeting from April 13th, 2015. On our general consent agenda, we had some hirings, street department, police department, park and rec. Actually, the police department wasn't hiring. It was just that tweakage of the wages I talked about, just so everyone's equal. Street department and parks and rec often have summer work. I mean, obviously, they're going to get most of their construction and physical improvements done in the summer, so they hire part-time work.
All right.
And then we had a bunch of liquor license approvals. So these are places in town, if you so wish to drink an alcoholic beverage. Mike and Nikki's Pizza and Steakhouse, Bingy Mun's Caribbean Kitchen, Fairfield Golf and Country Club, Veterans Club, Quality Quick Stop. So
seems to be a growing trend.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I noticed that. I think Bingy Mun's is new on the list. A lot of these are just more or less renewals.
So, that's why. Is it an annual renewal? Oh, that's part of it.
Yeah, that's why it always seems like it's not new every time. They're just people getting renewed.
I've been doing this job too long.
Yeah.
It seems like just last year and that's what it is. It's an annual renewal, which is a great way. That's just a way that the city's able to keep track of things or what's going on.
And we are basically just giving a nod. It's a state approval, and then the city accepts that approval.
Gotcha.
So, and they have to have certain criteria they meet, number of bathrooms, etc. All right, we had a couple of public appearances. The first was from two residents on Burlington, that neighborhood where the Tenco crisis home was proposed.
Right.
And they are essentially letting the council know they're unhappy that it's in use. And I guess the second part is what can be done about it. I talked about this before.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure in terms of the city is not sure of exactly how it's being used, so we're making the inquiry. It may be that Tenco found a way to use it that is not in the same vein as the crisis center they had proposed and then been denied in terms of the zoning change request. That zoning change, we talked about this last time as well, that was a board of adjustment that they went to, that their decision is final in terms of the council can't revoke it or change it. If there was an issue, if somebody didn't like a decision that group had made, they can go to the court system. So none were made. So there's nothing legally in terms of that can be changed. But it was denied basically not because of what it would, the specific use for mental health patients, but just because of the traffic and the public safety aspect. If somebody had wanted to open some other type of business in a residential neighborhood like that, it would have been denied for the same reasons. So there's nothing specifically exclusive about that decision. But there was some language, and I'm not going to repeat it, in one of the two citizens who talked, that did show a certain amount of, I don't want to say prejudice, but ill feeling towards the people who live in that home, who may be coming out of treatment for mental health. And I can understand some of the stories they told of, I guess the major one was someone defecating in someone's yard, a neighbor's yard. It's just things like that no one would want to have to deal with. But that doesn't necessarily give anyone the right to discriminate who their neighbor is. And so the law says the same, that the city can't discriminate about who lives in what house as long as it's within the purpose of our ordinance for that property. So if it is a rental, then they can have mental health. I won't keep calling them mental health patients, but people who they're treating in some capacity or whatnot, because mental health is dealt with legally the same as any other disability. So our city attorney spoke, and he used the example of a wheelchair-bound individual, and they're allowed to have like a certain number of assistants to help them live a lifestyle as close to one that a non-wheelchair-bound person would live. So the law doesn't discriminate between that disability and, say, a mental health disability. So by law, and even in a residential neighborhood, a business like Tenco can have patients that have assistants that help them live, and it's fine, it's legal, and we have no authority. Which speaks to a larger issue. I do notice that sometimes citizens will ask me questions or post things to the city about why are you letting this happen, or what can you do about X, Y, Z. And a lot of times it is something that's outside the scope of the city's authority. And in most cases, it does seem that there's a misunderstanding. A lot of people do believe that the city has more authority than it does, that its scope is larger than it is. So maybe sometime when we have like a light agenda, I can just kind of go over
That'd be great.
what the city government really, what its function is. But I kind of have before. And it basically comes out in our departments. You know, we have the police, the fire, so we have public safety. We have the waterworks and the wastewater. So we deliver fresh water to you, and then we take your wastewater away. We have a library and a parks and rec, which are kind of trying to add some sort of value. And then we have our code enforcement, which is just basically trying to maintain some semblance of order. You know, that's the big picture. It's not supposed to be heavy-handed, or it's not a moneymaker by any means. Some people thought that our police department was bringing in more money than it was spending through fines. Our police department doesn't see the revenue from, say, a traffic ticket that goes into the court system. So that's not accurate. So there are a lot of misunderstandings about what it is we do. I was talking to my girlfriend about it last night, and I was telling her that like my role as a city councilman, what I do as far as a city employee is rather limited, but what I do in the community is much bigger. And so it's the same for the mayor, and it's the same for a lot of the council members. We're involved in so many things that really don't have anything to do with the city, but it does play a part. Like with the quiet zone, it needed to be a city official to see that project through, because the quiet zone is an agreement between the city, a municipality, and the railroad, or the FRA. So there are times where you need somebody in that position to do something, but I say most of the work that I do on behalf of the city is not something that it's based on my authority as an elected official, but it's more based on my position, if that makes any sense.
It's important for people to realize that but I think when people look at people in positions of authority, representatives, they feel like the representative should be able to do the desire. And I think just you're making a really great point. It's like if there is a vast movement or understanding or something, that gets translated into who's elected, what they can do. But more than that, it's understanding. And, that's why I've enjoyed speaking with Kurt Hansen, or, there's even the county. We're talking about we haven't done that yet, but we're talking about getting on a cycle so people understand the different purviews. Mm-hmm. And for folks that are not familiar with the different, anyway, there we go. Sorry, we had a little glitch there on the cable. For folks that aren't interested or aren't used to thinking of the different channels, mm-hmm. City has a certain jurisdiction that you've talked about, and we talk about every time you come, mm-hmm. but the county has theirs, mm-hmm. and the state has theirs, and the mm-hmm. federal have theirs, yep. and there are others, but it's sometimes people, myself included, just think somebody in authority should be able to do something. I want it, And it can be frustrating because it feels like you should be able to do something or whatever. And the point is learning about the committees that I've talked about. If there's specific aspects of the city that you want to deal with, there are committees that meet regularly. That's the place through those channels then get funneled up to the city council, which is more by the time you're meeting here, there are opportunities like for these folks to talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying again what you're saying.
Yep.
It really is valuable as a civic part of this to simply know not just who agrees with you, but how it works and what somebody can do, because I think it just smartifies the whole thing, or not streamlines. It eliminates the frustration of doing something that isn't somebody saying no, but just not the purview. And then there are areas where there are things that overlap, or there are people that you can talk to and so forth. So anyway, does that make sense?
It does, because we had a gentleman come to our last city council meeting in February or in March, and had a presentation and spoke for 5-8 minutes about an issue, and then found out that he was speaking to the wrong group, that we had no authority to overturn a decision that had been made on a rezoning. So it's similar in this situation. We continue to hear from the residents in the neighborhood of the home on West Burlington, on East Burlington, that Tenco purchased. They purchased a number of homes here. They have, I think, 5 properties in Fairfield. And again, there's no law that allows the city to make any sort of discrimination about if it's been used in the right within the parameters of our code. They can use it for mental health purposes to an extent. So there are actually federal laws that protect against discrimination. So again, it's kind of the two desires, or the two perspectives kind of butting head. One is the neighbor saying, well, these people sometimes are causing disturbances, and they gave a bunch of police reports for some different properties. And it does appear that at times there will be somebody who is being called once a month or so, because they're not behaving themselves. Well, we do have, that's partly what our police department is for, is to keep the peace. And so if you have a problem with the neighbor, to go ahead and use that avenue. It's there for you. So I understand the frustration, and at the same time I see that the limits of the law. And we'll keep reporting. We'll find out more about exactly what that property is being used for.
So just to be clear then, on this particular subject, you're still waiting to hear or to get a little more information to know exactly what they're doing, whether it is going past the purview of the zoning. Is that correct? And
if it's within the scope, then we have no authority, and neighbors will have to live with it. That's that.
Is there any idea of the time frame of that?
Or we were hoping by now we would know, but it's been a little hard to communicate with them. But we have legal action. If somebody is renting and they don't go through our process, that's against our ordinance. So the courts would back us up on that. So we do have that in our pocket. If it gets to that point, we hope that Tenco will instead just cooperate.
Cool. So it's not there yet. By the way, you're listening to City Business. This is James Moore, solar-powered KRUU-FM, 100.1 on your FM dial. Also KRUU-FM.com on the World Wide Web. We're speaking with 4th Council Ward member of the City Council, Michael Halley, and we're giving you the update on the April 13th City Council meeting. We do this after each City Council meeting, and we appreciate you stopping by. Michael, what else you got?
All right, we had one other appearance. It was Jamie Mueller. He's with the Crisis Center out of Burlington, and this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So Mayor Malloy presented a resolution, or actually it was a framed document that shows the City of Fairfield supports awareness in that regard. So that was done. It wasn't any sort of vote on that, but a proclamation, I believe, is what he had created.
Okay.
So it's kind of a symbolic gesture of support. We moved into our resolutions, action items, and ordinances. We had 3 local businesses who violated the law of selling cigarettes to minors.
Oh.
2 were first offenses. The fee for that is rather small, kind of which might call a slap on the wrist. Let me see if I can open this one up. And One was a second offense, and it's a little bit more serious.
Okay.
The fine for a first offense is $300. The fine for a second offense is $1,500 or a 30-day suspension of their license to sell.
That's an expensive pack of cigarettes.
Yes. So it's, I guess it just goes to show that we take selling cigarettes to minors seriously and basically don't do it. Anybody who's got a license, check the ID and make sure you're not selling to a minor. We're going to sell the property at 102 South 23rd. It was the one that was MRC Recycling. Now, that was donated to the city a few years back. Mm-hmm. We made a deal through Fairfield Economic Development Association to lease it to the recycling center, very low cost. The agreement was that they would fix up some of the problems with it and then had the option to buy, but they didn't uphold their side of it and decided to vacate. City has no need for it, so we're putting it on.
So wait, let me just understand that. So this recycling center, was it electronic?
Yeah. And
so they didn't make it. They left, huh?
Yep, they left.
Well, I didn't know that. It was just going to take something over.
Well, I found out that Goodwill takes certain electronics.
Okay.
So I would check before showing up with it, but someone said they brought a good amount of electronics and Goodwill was happy to take them. So hopefully we'll find that. I'll just read the advertisement real quick. City of Fairfield will be accepting sealed bids for the sale of property located at 102 South 23rd Street. The property consists of 7,104 square feet metal structure, built in 1981, and approximately 1.45 acres zoned B2 business. It'll be sold as is with no warranties or guarantees. If you want any more information or to take a look at it, contact City Hall 472-6193. You can talk to Mike Harmon, our city administrator. And the bid should be sent to City Hall, 118 South Main Street, prior to May 6th, 4 o'clock.
All right, May 6th is the deadline, 4 o'clock. If you're interested in some fresh property.
Well, I know actually there were more than one local nonprofits interested. So sealed bids simply means, sounds like what it is, no one sees anyone else's bid. They're sealed, and then they're all opened at the same time in a public environment. All right. We're adding some parking space on Briggs, there by where the Tribune building once stood.
Right.
So it's on the south side of the street. There were two spots that were loading zones because there were these big garage doors. I don't know if anyone remembers when Jason was there and everyone was filming, there were these nice vintage cars pulled out before the building collapsed.
Yep.
They were in that garage. So because those garages were there was no parking. Well, now that they're gone, the city's repairing the sidewalk in that area, pulled out the old, I guess there were some posts from parking meters. Mm-hmm. That's kind of outdated. We haven't had those in years.
Way back.
Repairing the sidewalk there, and then we'll restripe and we'll get 4 more diagonal parking spaces.
Very needed.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah.
Right down in a prime location.
Fairfest is going to be utilizing that space this year. I don't know how long things going to go, but it looks like that's on for a second stage.
The actual empty lot area?
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. Now, it is actually, I said it, I kept saying it's waiting for it to go on the market. It is on the market.
Yep.
So anybody who's interested doing whatever.
But because we're a non-commercial station, we can't really
we're not going to talk about it, but it is. Just as something. All right. Let's see. Our street department is...
Some of us are hoping for a public park or some kind of something. But
I know. There's all these dreams, but we got to... Whoever buys it has the right to do whatever.
Well, maybe if the city sells that one on 23rd out there.
Flip it over and buy that other.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some gardens, some nice space downtown. I'm saying it goes with the Great Places thing. I just talked with a former city employee, Barbara Bloom, who's now retired. Her daughter is doing Beautiful Blooms and Beautify Fairfield, putting together a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? Good gardens around there.
I know. She and I talked, and she has, and someone else even, another person said that we all have the same vision. It would just be a nice outdoor space of some kind. But the price I heard was a little steep, but I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Right.
You didn't hear it here,
Didn't
folks.
hear anything.
Anyway,
I didn't say
what
anything.
else you got for City Hall, Mr.
All right. Our
Halley?
street department, a.k.a. Public Works Department, is participating in a sign replacement program.
Sorry, I was kind of tripping out.
Streets?
No, you're doing the AKA public. It was going. Fortunately, my mic's dying, so you go ahead.
All right, good. I mean, not good that your mic's dying. So apparently that signs these days need to be a certain specifications of reflectivity. So the types that we have mostly here around town don't meet that, so we need to replace them. So it's this program that helps cover the cost of replacing signs over time. So I think it's $21,000 or something.
What does that mean? The signs don't
like stop signs? There's a new type that has greater reflectivity.
The red or the something
just reflects better at night, so they're more visible.
Interesting.
And then whoever the powers that be that we're beholden to say that we have to start switching them out as quickly as possible.
No, it's just interesting. Yeah. So I mean, I'm
we're
sure
trying to get 5,000 done this year and keep going until we get them all. But I'm not. I could probably look it up. I can't remember the exact name of the type of sign. But yeah, it's just a matter of greater visibility. All right, we passed the third and final reading of the water rate increase that I talked about before.
Right. Just quickly refresh.
We had a study done by a third-party company called McClure Engineering for both the wastewater and the water department, and they developed a step increase in the rates to stay ahead of improvements that are needed to both. Now, the water is minuscule compared to the wastewater. It's basically some of the pipes are getting degraded. On the wastewater, it's almost all of them need fixing. So you'll see a small increase in water and not continual. Wastewater will be continual until that project is done. So
Gotcha.
I don't expect to see another water increase come up anytime in the near future.
All right, thanks for that.
No parking in the city right away along Highway 1 South. That's just that issue that since that new gas station's been there at the corner of Libertyville and South Highway 1, some semis have been parking on the shoulder and blocking visibility. It's not safe, so I'm going to remove parking so that one won't happen. First reading of an amendment to an ordinance about the abandonment of private sewer systems. Now, this came up because we're adding sewer lines along Libertyville Road. They're kind of north of the hospital, heading west, because those properties have historically had their own septic systems, which is fine if you're out in the country, but when you're so close to a sewer system, it's just safer to be on it. So the ordinance says that if a property is within 300 feet of our line, which they will be once we extend it, that when the property sells, they have to tie into the line and abandon their private septic system.
So I'm sure they're all very happy about that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a huge thing because there's an expense that goes with maintaining a septic system.
Right.
And then the expense
privately.
Yeah, exactly. So the expense to tie in, I'm not going to say it's a wash. I don't have the numbers, but one over the other, it'll be fine. And it's probably a good selling point when you're selling a property to say, well, we're tied in the city because overall it's less expensive than maintaining a septic system. First reading of the fee rate increases. I think I talked about this before. It's mostly for rental property inspection, reinspection, no-show, these kind of things. And so we passed it, but some of it was in the ordinance, and so we have to pass it by ordinance. At our first reading, no one showed up for the public hearing section that precedes every reading of an ordinance. But we have two more, and some landlords might show up and say, hey.
It's a pretty sizable jump on some of them.
Well, I think they were, let me see, because
I remember 300%, 400%, 500% on some of them.
Yeah, but then if you look at the actual number,
oh yeah,
it wasn't. Let's see if I can get it to open. It wasn't that large, but yeah, it was. I mean, some were 10, they went to 30. You know,
that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but all right, I'll have it. Oh, there it goes. Let's see, come on now. Here we go. All right. So, rental housing inspection fee 80, additional units 50 each, reinspection 15. I know that's a lot, but no, just kidding. And
well, it used to be 3, right, or 5?
Something 5 maybe. Failure to show 50. So, you know, when you get that bill for like your cable or whatever, and you're like, what happened? You know, they generally are good about increasing over time. These haven't been touched in so long that I think it's just kind of how should you say, the period where it hadn't been touched, they were pretty low. And so this is kind of a fixing something that should have been done a while ago. I'm running out of time. I want to say something that's good news.
We just got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, this is good news.
Love
Two
it.
good news.
Okay.
3 good news.
What you got?
In a row. First one, Mayor talked about that the city of Fairfield has officially reached Blue Zone's community designation. So we announced it officially at the Chamber of Commerce Awards banquet last Friday night.
That's right.
Which was a lot of fun. April 10th. If you're listening to a rebroadcast. Yeah.
Come on, now, microphone. A big turn.
Record turnout. That was the biggest event we had. Fairfest got an award. Fun night. So that's good news. It's not over. The Blue Zones, we have to continue to work on these things. So you'll hear more about it. It's not a done deal and leave. So other good news, the pool is coming along nicely. Still on track for a June opening. The new gym project is coming along. That is on track for opening next year. So those 2 things are good. Here's the third and final good news.
All right.
The city put in our budget, and it has to be approved by the state. They found something in it where we actually, our levy amount, the amount we tax on the property tax, and the city has a portion. If you look at your property tax, the city has a portion, about a third. The county does, the hospital does. So all those together are what make up the amount you're taxed. The city's portion came down about 9 cents because on some of our long-term borrowing repayment, we had a little high. Yes, sometimes the trains do honk when they have the...
Well, you won't hear that on the mics in here, but yeah, it used to be like nonstop.
Well, yeah, they're working on the tracks today.
That's right. There's some folks there which they have to do.
They honk for safety. And it's a different honk. It's like a little, hey, what's up? Rather than a
wasabi.
You know how it used to be. So anyway, those are all good things. So a little less on your property taxes.
Fantastic. Well,
not bad.
I do want to acknowledge the Chamber for not only supporting Fairfest this last year, $2,500. We really appreciate that, but also presenting the team with a Rising Star Award. I think it was sponsored by Danaher, and all stuff that we appreciate. A lot of people honored and a great turnout. Speaking of Fairfest, the deadline for artist design poster submission has been extended to April 24th, and on that day, we will actually announce the winner, and that will be at the convention center. Fairfest team and KRUU hosting the Chamber monthly gathering there, so that'll be a lot of fun coming down the pike. But also, great Fairfest headliners have been announced, but the rest will be announced in the next week or so stay tuned for that. And you know what? That'll do it for today's City Hall with Michael Halley. Michael Halley. Get it? City Hall? City Halley? All right, I'm out of here. I'm going to hurt myself. You shut up, Jason. Stay tuned for more great programming coming up. Speaking Freely if you're listening live on Tuesday. Mental Health Matters if you're listening on Monday. And something great on Thursday. Something great on Monday morning.